This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Welcome to Party Loaded! It is Mimo. It is the 11th of October. I nearly said the 10th of November. It is definitely not that. This is episode 99. I am not Luke. I will not refer to his voice as everybody else has and say that you're just going to get used to my voice. I listened to all the other hosted episodes and everyone said the dulcet tones of Luke.
I
just
got the
feel
same
like you're
thing.
getting a really big head about it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, called
we've got Jam,
Luke's
we've got
tones
Luke, and we've
dulcet,
got Ollie. Yeah.
and Ollie called his own tones dulcet, I think.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I called Luke's tones dulcet.
I
it
think
was
you
Luke's
two just
tones.
need to expand your fucking vocabularies. That's what I think. So-
Mate, I did it first, and he did not listen. It is his fault.
Okay, that's fair.
I never listened
Well,
to you.
tonight
true.
you will not have the usual
that?
baritone of Luke.
Ooh.
You will
you
instead
will.
have the alto of Mimo. Mimo Alto. I sound like a really cool place in America.
Molto.
Or like a really hip band.
True.
Yeah.
There's something hipster about that.
Yeah. This is a video game podcast where we talk about video games. Unfortunately, I don't have an awful lot of video game talk to talk about today because I spent most of my week watching streamed D&D, entering the wonderful world of Crit Roll. Any other fellow critters out there know that the feels are real at the moment as they finish a huge story arc. And if you haven't watched it yet, you have 114 episodes of, on average, about 3.5 hours to watch. So
That's
if you ever run out of
conservative.
things to do,
Got to spend 900 hours.
Damn.
it's nuts.
Boom.
That last episode 114, was over 5 hours long, which is nuts. And I know when we play D&D, if we ever play for 5 hours long, like I start seeing through time at the end of that.
Yeah.
There's no way I can pay attention, depending on how much sugar we've consumed.
Maybe we
I
could
know,
just...
we're sick of each other.
I was just going to say, maybe we could just quickly mention, because it is kind of video game related, the D&D online tools that we've been experimenting with lately. That could be of interest to a few people.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been, we have a lot of people who had the plague recently, and so we have trialed using Roll20. Ollie is our DM currently,
Hello.
so he gets to put up with us drawing penises, measuring everything that he puts on screen, and rolling 100 d10s, Luke, and crashing Ollie's game constantly.
No, it crashed my Discord, which was the odd thing.
Oh,
That was the best.
super weird. And every time he's like, well, let's just do it again, see if it can test. And every time Ollie would reconnect, he would roll the dice again. Oh, it's a great way to start the game, guys. Just piss off your DM and hope for the best. And hope you survive. I found it really good. I quite like it. I do prefer playing in person just because we play a lot of games online anyway. but
Absolutely. Yeah.
you guys enjoyed it though, right?
I was kind of looking at it from the DM side as well, because I'll end up using it for that at some point eventually. And I just think it's a really useful toolkit. Like it certainly for that role cuts down on some of the logistical challenges that you have with trying to find like illustrations or boards or having to make your own diagrams and of course trying to source miniatures and that sort of thing. So having all that stuff at the ready is real handy. I quite like that.
Yeah, I wasn't super convinced on the combat side of things. That took an extraordinary amount of time, more than it would have in real life. And I guess Roll20 is really great if there's just no way you're going to meet, but it's good for the once off. But I much preferred it when it was just the role play session that we did and like a couple of rolls. Rolling combat was a lot. And also it was past midnight, so it was way past Mimo's bedtime.
That was
And
probably
I was
the
melting into the couch. I was done.
That is
Anyway.
the danger.
Yeah.
Everyone's too comfortable.
Way too comfortable. There was a lot of belching, a lot of people having to take toilet breaks all the time. Yeah, so anyway, it was good. It's recommended to try it out. I played another couch co-op game, which is the only game that I played this week, which was the Jackbox Party Pack 3. Which was super fun. I mean, we've talked about playing the Jackbox thing before, which like Fibbage and those types of things. But Jackbox Party 3 has one called Murder Party or Monster Murder Party or something, which is actually really good. It's got some really difficult mind-bending questions, and then you die, and then at the end you've got to race to like escape the madman. It's kind of like, what's that horror movie where you get put in a room?
Saw.
Thank you.
Or The Room.
No. The Saw where you have to like answer, like do things to get out. It was this really cool mode where there was 2 people on screen and then the other people, so there's only 2 other people who were playing, there was 4 chalices down the bottom. Those people had to choose to put poison pellets in a cup, and then the 2 people who were playing the game had to choose which chalice to drink from. So they don't know where the poison is and all those types of things.
Did they just
Princess
the whole thing?
Bride.
Yeah, exactly.
There was also one where our friend Erin had to choose which finger to cut off of her hand, and she chose the pinky or the 4th finger, which meant that she could no longer choose the 4th option in multiple choice.
Ah.
She's like, wait, why can't I choose that? And then she realized it was because she chopped off her 4th finger.
That's awesome.
Bum, bum, bum.
Jeez.
So I thought it was really good. I mean, Jackbox Party Pack is not cheap. I think it was, for me, it was $17, but that's because I think I own the other one, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I did just read that Jackbox are releasing Party Pack 4 on the 17th of October, so that's super soon, which had some interesting things in it. But yeah, that was the only gaming I did, and I just listened to you guys and all your fun adventures. Mm-hmm. What were your adventures, Jam and Luke?
Holy crap.
Without me?
We had a
zooming
week.
ahead, as predicted. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got wrapped up in the craziness of Destiny raid shenanigans. So
A little bit.
Yeah. It took place over, what was it, 3 nights, Jam, I think, consecutively?
I think so.
Yeah, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. So I wiped out a good part of my weekly gaming time, actually. So we had a team of guys that we were sort of running through with, and the team varied slightly from night to night. I think there was 1 or 2 people that interchanged, which raised some questions for me about how the raid actually functions in terms of the group that you take in, because it was sort of allowing us to complete rooms and then come back at a later date and not have to do those rooms again, which was good. Because the whole Destiny raid experience, like for the Leviathan raid, is a lengthy affair, like particularly when you've not done a lot of the rooms before and you have to go back and learn them and repeatedly fail in them. And we're talking hours and hours and hours and hours here. So I know the Giant Bomb and Giant Beast cast crew recently actually completed the raid and did like a stream for the entire time it took them. And that ended up being like 20 hours of footage for that team. So that was kind of nuts.
Was that their first attempt?
Yeah, I think they probably looked at a bit less of the reference material compared to us, because I think we sort of got to the point where we were just like, fuck this, let's actually look at a guide.
We had experienced people too.
True. And like honestly, there was a couple of points where if we hadn't have done that, it would have just been an unfun affair, I think. So, and looking at the guide does not make it easy. It's still friggin' hard. Holy moly.
Yeah.
So
it's the best.
I was super bummed. Like, I was bummed from the point you're like, oh, last night we cleared the dog's room. I'm like, oh, I really liked that room.
Yeah.
I wanted to
don't
play.
worry, we will be doing it frequently.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually...
And we haven't finished.
No, we're still on the last boss, and given that we've now hit the weekly reset, we're going to have to go in and do it all again now. But I think that the upside, though, and Jam, you can tell me if you feel the same way, I'd be surprised if you don't, is that, like, I think that even though we sunk a bunch of time into the raid, and like the 3 puzzly type rooms in particular, which really require a lot of practice, even though we're going to have to go back and do those again, which is a bit of a hassle, I feel that like practice has really made perfect in those rooms, and we can go back in feeling a shitload more confident now than we would have been before. And
perfect is an overstatement.
Oh yeah, wrong word, but you get the intent.
Definitely be better. So that's my experience with past raids in Destiny 1. You just... Once the group's got familiarity, one of the key things is once you can communicate components to each other clearly, simply, and avoid misunderstandings, shit just starts to gel so quickly. So when we know what flower someone's talking about when they're calling out which one to go to, we instantly know that it's that one over there and this is the best path. That's where everything just starts clicking. And it was good. I'm sad you didn't get to experience that with us, Mimo, but it's really good. We had 2 experienced people running with us, teaching us the rooms, or 3, 2.5-ish.
2.5.
And it's, someone was sort of half experienced.
Oh.
It means that, we've learned from them. They got better. We picked up new stuff, and then we imparted onto the next half melded group of experienced and non-experienced. It's the best experience. I love it. Raids are amazing. And this one, there's so many moving parts. It's more complex than I remember any of the ones from Destiny 1, but my memory. It's rubbish.
Yeah, the different rooms really focused on different aspects of the gameplay as well. Like that, the Pleasure Gardens room that we've spoken about a couple of times now with the dogs that you have to sort of hide from. That room's all about sort of stealth and then like DPS, I think, really trying to hammer down as much damage as you possibly can in a short space of time. And then there's another room that really tests your platforming skills to a certain degree and your coordination with team members sort of having to shoot targets together and call out sort of
You're going to love
targets.
that memo.
Yeah, that one was really interesting. And then there's a room where it's basically, again, it's like a bit of a relay race where you have to sort of, change positions rapidly and all coordinate to be in the center for a particular moment.
Timing
where you have
is
to,
a big thing.
Yeah, it's crazy detail. A lot of fun though. Like I've really enjoyed all of the rooms. And now that we know how to do the Pleasure Gardens one, I'm not as frustrated by that one because I think it's a lot simpler than we were making it out the last few times we've attempted it. So yeah.
Again, we were better at communicating with each other and learning the paths.
Yeah. And the final boss we haven't beaten yet, but he is really interesting too. Like Callus, who's kind of like, I don't know, is he like the Red Legion Emperor? Is that kind of like what he is? It's sort of what it seems like to me.
No.
Something like that. I know he's not strictly speaking Red Legion because that's one of the military organizations within that race. Anyway, this is getting too far into the Destiny fluff. You'll sort of hop on and find out for yourself, Ollie, when you do it.
Bit.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's super cool. He is a very interesting sort of puzzly challenge in himself, and we haven't even gotten to the point where we're doing a whole bunch of damage on him yet. So we'll get back to that at some point. But the thing that really struck me, and this is like something I was not expecting, the entire palace complex that this raid actually takes place in, there's a whole like sort of meta level to it in addition to the raid specific rooms where you can actually explore the maze-like sort of labyrinthine tunnels underneath, and there's actually sort of hidden treasures that you can unlock as you get various different passes from beating the other portions of the raid. So and we were sort of exploring and trying to find a few of those as we went along, and there's some pretty good loot if you actually go to the effort of doing it. But apparently there's actually hidden back doors into some of the actual raid rooms as well. So yeah, did not expect that level of
so complex.
Yeah, it's great.
That sounds cool.
Also, FYI, Luke, Callus was the former emperor before Gaul.
Ah, okay,
Usurped by
that's
Gaul.
what he is. All right, gotcha.
Yeah,
But
yeah, the network beneath the temple is amazing, and we had
I
someone
can see that
trying to
being
use
right
an
up
app.
your lane, Charlie.
Someone's using an app with a map to try and find which way we need to go to get to a particular chest or room. And we're like, this way, wait, no, turn around. other way. It's really twisty and complex, and there's platform elements there too. Some of the jumping puzzles, Jesus.
Ugh.
So frustrating.
Yeah. There's a part of the underground palace which is not linked to the raid itself, but where the treasure stuff is. There's this one tunnel where there's this giant rotating turbine with sort of platforms on each sort of step of the spiral that you have to land on as they're turning and not drop off. And that thing is infuriating. Oh my God.
Yeah. You can't properly jump up high because of the dimensions of it. So you got to do a pretty steady. Oh, it's dumb.
Yep.
So you died a few times on that one then.
Yeah.
Just a couple dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, holy crap.
All right. Well, you guys have been poodling around in the Destiny 2 raid. Ollie, what have you been up to?
I've been poodling in another thing that's sci-fi and pew-pew. I tried out the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta.
Yay!
So,
Ollie, you have to tell us then, what exactly do porgs taste like? I'm curious.
No
Please don't
spoilers.
tell me you eat porgs.
Okay.
I did not see a single pork.
Oh,
I
that's
have
Yay.
not yet watched the trailer.
Oh, you know
By
what
the
the
way.
is, though. Yeah.
I know, but I'm resisting.
Okay, good.
So far, I've held strong.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to video games. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first Star Wars Battlefront that came out, and until it sort of slowly went downhill with a few like imbalance of weapons and shit like that. And yeah, I like this one even more. They've done some good changes from the original game. So they have kit loadouts now as well. So they have your different classes, and now you have kit loadouts a la other Battlefield and whatnot games, and COD games and stuff like that. And that was a nice change of pace, knowing that even though 3 of you might be assault classes, you each might have different things and each have a different role to play, which is quite pleasant. The game is so pretty. Holy
really?
shit. I wish I had a 4K
I'm
screen
glad.
for this.
I was struck by that with the first one, like particularly on the Endor maps. That was impressive.
So I played on Naboo, birds for days. Oh my
So
god.
many birds.
So many birds. So it was clones versus droids. So I didn't play for very long. I only played maybe hour and a half, I'd say. But no, I had a good fun. So the mission we had was, if you're the droids, you had to protect a really big transport that then busted down the doors to like a palace, and then you had to capture the throne room of the palace and disable like the security on the way, that sort of thing.
Sounds
That
like
was
the
really,
one
really
they
good.
had at E3. Sounds very similar, if not the same.
I'm going to say sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously the clones have to stop them. Now, the thing that I quite enjoyed, but I think it leads a little bit to a bit of a snowball effect, but I'm not sure yet, was that in-game you earn points, and then you spend those points for cool stuff. So, for example, I could spend points to go into a droid fighter. I could, if I had enough points, I could become Darth Maul, that sort of thing.
Ooh.
So that was really neat. And then I got a very jarring moment when I saw a Han Solo. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not from around these parts. So there is a bit of timeline mooshing, I'm going to say.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Fucking David Tennant would be proud. So overall, the action does feel better. It feels a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. The game is drop dead gorgeous. Like, it is. I really want to get a 4K screen now.
Is this something that Luke and Jam you'll pick up when it comes out?
Unlikely due to something we're going to talk about tonight. We'll see.
I don't know.
Okay.
Undecided.
Yeah.
Alright.
Having played it, loved the crap out of it, and then heard that news, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we're going to talk a lot about that later. Well, next up, you guys play the self-flagellation game of Cuphead.
Mate.
How did you go?
I love being
I've
a
been
masochist.
itching to get back into this game. You know, it's the game that I've been sitting on my couch. I'm like, I could just start up Cuphead, but you kind of need a lot of time for Cuphead. So
I know, right?
How are you guys going?
Yes and no.
Well, I don't know. I've not played by myself, so I don't know.
Okay.
You can pick it up and run a boss
quicker.
battle, but like I kind of get what you're saying, because I think that for enjoyment's sake, you kind of want to dedicate a bit of time to doing that sort of rinse repeat sort of playthrough of this game. Like I don't feel good about picking it up and putting it down for just 20 minutes or so. Like I actually want to spend a good hour or two. Yeah.
It's what I call a session game.
You need to get in the zone.
Sit
That's
down,
what
have
it
a good
is.
sesh.
Yeah.
A good sesh.
Yeah,
in Cuphead.
an hour
Yeah.
is basically where I cap it, because otherwise I will break things.
Interestingly enough, I did offer it to our friends when we were going to play Jackbox and said, we could play Cuphead. You guys could have it a go. And just from the outset and just from knowing things, they're like, no, isn't that really hard? I don't think I'll try it. It's really hard. So that was interesting for me, that it's sort of getting that sort of name for itself. But there you go.
I have seen Cuphead actually popping up in quite a few sort of main media sources outside of the games industry.
Yeah.
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 Which has been interesting. It's one of the few
mean, it's
games
very
that I've seen do that. Yeah. I think the last one I saw
tricksy
actually sort of get that kind of focus was probably No Man's Sky, to be honest. So, yeah, it was interesting.
But this is for good reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a
Yay.
great game.
It is
Alright.
a swell game.
So, Luke, why haven't you finished it yet?
Because there's a fucking dragon that keeps pushing my shit in. I really don't like it.
I actually
shared
really
with
like
us-
that fight.
I like it
Yeah,
too. It's
Luke
just
shared with us
ridiculously
a
hard.
picture of this. So when you play the game and you die, you get to see how close you were to the end. It shows you
Oh,
on a
mate.
little timeline, and Luke put up this picture, and it was just
I
like
feel
F you,
gutted for you.
like so many years, and he was a nose away from the end of the level, and he died. That is bad feels right there.
A
Bad
whisker.
feels.
So, for context, I'm currently on the second island or second world, and I've beaten
Oh,
all
so-
of the bosses except for that guy, and I think there's one more that is actually blocked until you do him. So, one more or two more? I can't remember. I can't do any more until I actually beat that dude anyway. So, yeah, it's a really,
That's
really
bad
good
feels.
boss fight, and I've gotten really excellent at the first 2/3 of it. But the final third, when this thing turns
Brag
into
about
like a three-headed dragon hydra, it just gets so ridiculously hard.
Oh, it's so good.
It's
so good. It's the
nuts.
best.
So, Ollie, you're past that point, obviously.
Yeah, I think I'm missing 2 bosses as well. No, I've got the graveyard on that island I need to do. Mm-hmm. And then I've got one more boss I need to do, and then I'm on to the 3rd zone.
So you've done the ghost train that you were having problems with? You mentioned last week?
Yeah, I figured it out and smashed it out, so that was good.
Yeah.
And then I got to do the
there's 4 worlds?
upside down level that you were talking about, and I was like, "This is really cool. I'm dead. This is really cool. I'm dead again.
dead.
All right, let's get this now." Okay.
Well, I actually tried something with that level, Ollie. I managed to finish that level without firing a shot. So there you go. There's a challenge for you.
Ooh.
Grats.
Yep.
I finished the dragon.
Yeah, fuck you.
Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
Just tuck away your e-pains.
Yeah.
No, I can't. It's too
Jamie,
big. It's flopping
yeah,
out everywhere.
You
It's
took the words
uncontrollable.
right out of my mouth. We are the same person.
Yeah. There is a reason why I attempted to do that, though, which is linked to something that you might discover later. So I won't spoil it for you.
That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
That's totally a spoiler. I'm with down on that
Your
one.
face is a spoiler.
It
Aw, it's
really
my
is.
face.
Milk. Hey.
All right. So still enjoying the game.
Aw.
A++. I feel bad.
As much as I might rage about it, Cuphead is one of the greatest games I've played this year for sure. It is awesome.
Well, the fact that you're still playing it, put it that way.
Yeah, I just want more time. That's all.
Jam, are you buying Cuphead? When are you buying Cuphead?
I
Why
want
haven't
to
you
play
bought
it
Cuphead
with
already?
a friend, and none of the people in my house want to play it, so maybe I'll come visit you.
Yeah, do it. Then you can get past all the levels for me, and I don't
Okay.
really have to play.
Okay,
I
deal.
can just enjoy the art and the music and yell at you for not finishing
And
it.
while you're at it, Jam, you can finish Ori for her as well, because that's obviously,
Oh no,
mate.
fuck off.
Oh,
Why are
shit.
you going there?
Shots fired. While she's at it, why doesn't she finish Undertale for you?
I can be fucking smug because I finished both of those.
I'm still
job,
working on
Ollie.
Horizon,
Gold
but
star.
I've made progress.
Yeah.
By the way.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised
Getting
you didn't
there.
get like caught up in the story because I know where you are or where you were in the story. I'm surprised you were able to stop yourself. Though I suspect I know where you stopped yourself again.
Because 2017, man, that's why.
Yeah.
Because 2017.
So many
there's
games.
too much to play. All
Too
right.
many games.
We will move on to news of the week. And this week is super Blizzard heavy. So heads up, if you're sick of us talking about Blizzard, hang in there. You've got about 10 more minutes to go.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we haven't talked a whole bunch of Blizzard recently. I think there's been a bit of a break, so...
No, like honestly, the things that came out this week, I was like, oh yeah, I've got games that Blizzard make. I should play those. So Luke, you're first up. What is your news item
All
today?
right, so not specifically within the last week, but relevant to what I'm about to go on to, is Blizzard have actually launched a smartphone version of the Battle.net app. So you can actually have it as a standalone app on your phones and smart devices now, which is cool. It's kind of been integrated with a couple of the other games. So like Hearthstone's the one that stands out because Hearthstone obviously is played on phones, and the Battle.net friends list stuff has actually been incorporated with the Hearthstone app. But this is actually a separate Blizzard Battle.net app, so you can do all the social stuff sort of without loading a game and all that kind of thing. And you might be thinking, why is that relevant? Like, why would you actually want to do that on a phone app? I think there's probably a couple of good examples why. One is that I think it's quite easy when you're playing games on, like, particularly a single screen computer setup to actually have like your social stuff on a separate screen, and on your phone to the side of you is actually really handy. So I like being able to do that without having to switch sort of, you know, what's open on screen and that kind of thing. But also because Battle.net is now really integrating with a lot of the voice and video features, I think it's actually quite useful to be able to do that through your smart device as well. So that's something that they're continuing to build on, and it's quite interesting the direction they're taking. Now, the big bit of news with it this week, though, is that there's been a feature that's been requested for about 5 years in Battle.net, which they're finally looking to roll out, which is users being able to appear offline. So now you'll actually be able to, change your status, and your friends won't necessarily see you playing unless you want them to. But they're also adding a bunch of expanded group functions as well. So you're going to be able to create and join groups based on, common interests and what games you play and that kind of thing. And I think that's really, really handy, because I've got a bunch of people that I've added to my friends list from Hearthstone activity that don't play the other games. And I often forget who they are when I sort of see their names on my friends list inside the other games, like in Overwatch in particular. I'm like, who is that person? I don't recognize that name in the context of Overwatch, but being able to label and create groups and all that sort of stuff, I think will be really handy. And you can have, they're going to add multiple text and voice chat channels that you can sort of set up for different group interactions. And group administrators will have different tools that they can use to manage membership and send out invitation links and all that sort of stuff. So Battle.net is slowly but surely becoming more of the sort of Discord/Steam type thing that it wasn't before. So I think, the time will come where there'll be people who play a lot of Blizzard games that maybe just use Battle.net for all these sorts of needs instead of having to resort to something like Discord. So, and the voice
or
features
Bungie
are
games.
good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And, given that the library of stuff in Battle.net, the Battle.net client is expanding now with, Destiny 2 being on there for PC players, and God knows what else is going to happen in the future with, Blizzard and Activision working together. I think it's good. Like, more options for this kind of thing rather than going through the staple defaults is always a good thing in my mind.
Who was Anthem being made by?
Is
that Bungie? No.
No, that's Bioware. So
BioWare, no. So that won't go in there.
I doubt it.
Interesting. Yeah. If they nab another sort of big one, like not just Activision and not just like Bungie, that will be very telling that they're making a really big play. And I mean, I guess the writing was on the wall when they changed the name. When it was just going to be whatever it was, stupid Blizzard app or whatever it was, and they learnt their lesson. I think Battle.net is much more appropriate for it, even though it's Battle.net interface or whatever the crap it is now.
Well, I think naming it Battle.net potentially makes it a little bit more appetizing for other companies to be associated with it, because then it doesn't have the Blizzard sort of competition name plastered on the thing immediately. It's a bit more of a generic name. But one of the big drivers I think that might actually lead other companies to potentially partner with Blizzard to use the Battle.net platform in the future is that they might have a more appetizing sort of cost involved in doing that, because Steam does take a significant chunk. Like Valve takes a big chunk of the game revenue for the pleasure of being on their clients. So anyone who can get away with not being on Steam and still have sufficient sales would be nuts to not at least attempt it. And that's why we're seeing the rise of some of these other clients and every other major games publisher trying to get their own thing going, because it saves them from having to do that. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. We will have to wait and see what happens. In the meantime, we can fill our time with the spoopy greatness that is Overwatch Halloween Terror. Hooray! It came out all of a sudden. Again, bloody 2017 and all of its games. I cannot believe I wasn't on this straight away. I just opened up Twitter this morning and they showed all of the new skins and I was very excited. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Overwatch has seasonal events much like lots of other Blizzard games. This is still going to be Junkenstein's Revenge, so if you played the Halloween special last year, it is pretty much the same game, except this time round you're going to have access to old skins and 8 new legendary skins. So it's still a PvE mode, and they've added an endless mode, so if you want to pit your skills against some global geniuses of Overwatch, then do your worst. But we gave it a shot and it's a little bit hectic.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so the baseline Junkenstein is still the same 4 heroes as last time. It was quite funny playing with a McCree who was like the lifeguard McCree in that setting, was a little bit bizarre. There's a couple new sort of voice chats and things going between the characters, which is kind of neat. In the endless mode, you can now play Zenyatta, Torbjorn, Can't remember what the other ones were. Genji was in there. I remember Genji.
Yeah, and Widow, I think.
And Widow. Anyway, so there's a couple more that you can play in the endless mode, which is kind of neat. So you can sort of try your hand at playing a mostly support crew or playing a sniper crew. So you could do snipes only and go with all of the sort of sneaky, or you go sneaky snipes, or you can go Torb heavy. Torbjorn seemed super cheaty.
He's awesome.
But I guess you'd also need to be a good Torb to get that one right as well.
Do you know what I think is the payoff with Torb? Like, I think he's extremely good because his turret being up, always sort of shooting at the what do they call it?
Yeah.
Zomnics. Zomnics, yeah.
Yeah.
But the catch is that when you actually need to focus fire on different things like the riptires coming down, he's not able to do that with his turret. So, because they'll continue firing at whatever they lock onto. So
that's true.
It's probably the
Yeah,
payoff.
but he's got his own firing too. He smashed us. He got 100 more kills than any of us
Oh,
did.
Jesus.
Yeah, because he would have finished off, like, even if you'd hit him once, then his turret would finish him off and everything else. So
And we didn't do poorly.
no, I think we did pretty good. I mean, we played normal mode because we remember what it was like a year ago to play this and try and attempt even the hard mode was. Man, that was full on. I remember trying to get hard mode with no damage.
As we all commented, though, our Destiny shoots has given us good practice in the meantime.
I mean, definitely me. Like,
100%.
you guys were already good at playing Overwatch. Like, but going into Overwatch, I picked Ana first up in the regular PvE mode. And suddenly I was like, yep, zooming in. I automatically zoomed in and I sniping people in the head. I had a great time.
Yay.
It was super fun. And then gained the confidence to try out Zenyatta in the endless mode. Man, he is fun to play. Especially with his Discord orb. I'm just like, Discord, like just putting on all of the guys like as they die. My screen was just filling up with little boops. Boop, 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 boop. You have the assist. And I do enjoy endlessly experiencing tranquility. I'm like, everybody chill out.
Chill the fuck out.
I love how the baddies were duplicated in this mode as well. Like you were facing multiple Reapers at once and all that kind of thing. So
That was messed up.
yep. And Symmetra,
was
holy
rough.
crap! Symmetra is scary when she's on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
So
Symmetra
shit.
plays a role this time round in it. The new Symmetra skin has the internet frothing at the mouth, to say the least. It is great. If you were a fan of tieflings in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, then she's 110% great job. They've done a really good job with the skins. I'm not 100% sure where the Zarya skin is coming from. She's got kind of like a retro bad 80s.
It's like 80s horror.
I like
style
it. No,
thing,
I
maybe?
like the skin. I don't understand how it's a Halloween thing.
Because it's
Maybe it's
dress up.
because I was born in the 80s, so I don't see it as like a costume thing. I don't know.
It's a costume.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I was like, spooky horror, like vampire and tombstone this and everything else. And Zarya's like, oh, I'm in the 80s. Like, cool thing. But I think that looks really cool. I just think it's a bit out of place.
Yeah.
For the one. I love the Illithid
Zenyatta?
Cthulhu-esque Zenyatta. Yeah. Oh, he's sweet. He is awesome. And when he was up close on my big screen, like in the loading screen, like the front of his tentacles are all armored and the underneath are not.
Oh my
And it
god.
was,
Sorry, I just
was
realised
gross.
I've been trying to think of who he reminded me of because he really reminded me of something recent when we were looking at it today, and I just realised what it is. He reminds me of fucking Xur from Destiny. So the
yeah,
yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, because it's the hood
Yeah.
and everything else. It was really cool. That was the first thing I saw today. I was like, yes, I'm going to start playing Zenyatta just to get the skin. I've already opened 4 loot boxes, and I got 1 purple / pink / whatever you want to call it, and that was the Bastion Tombstone. So that's really cool, and I'll never use that. And the most exciting thing for me, I think, is that there is 2 new Pachamari character player icons that you can own. There he is, Olly. Oh my god, you have to Google this immediately. There is a Frankenstein's Pachamonster and Pachamummy, and they are both adorable. So if you're not caught up with why
Halloween.
this is a big deal, I'm super obsessed with Pachamari, who's a little onion octopus thing in Overwatch, who's sort of become kind of like, he's like the Porg. He's the Porg of the Overwatch
That's
world,
a fair comparison.
really. That's pretty fair. Like, he wasn't supposed to be a big deal. He was just supposed to be like a toy or something from the world, but he's become pretty big. And big ups to Olly for sourcing a Pachimari for my birthday, a real life one who lives in my apartment, and I hide him different places, so he's like a little Easter egg in my apartment every time I wake up. The other day I put him, like my boyfriend hid him behind a cushion, so I came home 2 days ago and sat on my couch and it was like, squeak! I was like, what the crap? It scared the life out of me because it's got a squeaker in it.
I just saw the picture.
How cute are they? So you can also have
know?
them as character icons in the game, so your player icons, and we are a big fan of making a full team of people with different Pachamaris.
Do you know if they've opened up the previous Halloween Pachimari icons again?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of the past Halloween stuff's available in Halloween loot boxes.
Because you get the little vampire one. The little vampire one is cute. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Excellent.
so they're super cute. Highly sought after in our group, that is fair to say, I think.
Don't you think it's ironic that they have a vampire Pachimari and Pachimari looks like a big bulb of garlic? Just an observation.
I mean,
he's got layers.
So many layers. There's layers to that joke. All right, we finished. We're done with Blizzard for about 5 minutes while Jam, you talk about Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
That segue,
because that's all you gave
segue.
me in the title of your news item was just Nazis.
Well,
so I don't know what you're going to talk about.
Did you hear? The Bethesda put out this really cool tweet for with a little like tiny video for Wolfenstein that's coming out, and it's got what was the
Make America
catchline?
Nazi free
Make
again.
America Nazi free again.
Yep.
They got shit for it. They got shit for their anti-Nazi message online.
Wait, what? No
and they
way.
had to defend Wolfenstein 2's anti-Nazi thing. Which
what?
is what
No.
Wolfenstein's been for 25 years. They're saying, oh, why are you making a social commentary?
It's
fucking
fucking
kidding me?
Wolfenstein.
I don't get angry at this sort of stuff very often because it's just games.
I
But,
was surprised
like,
that you wanted to
Wolfenstein's
bring
been-
this up.
Oh, it's been anti-Nazi for, what, 25, 30 years?
Yeah, as long as
Since it was made.
The fact that it's a social commentary right now speaks more to your fucking society than it does to a game
Fucking
that's
preach them.
bagging on
Testify.
Nazis. Oh my god, I'm so angry.
This is the most
Emotions.
pent up and passionate I've ever heard you about anything
It's
ever.
such bullshit.
Do you know what?
If these are
wholeheartedly
Nazis complaining, hello, you
Nazis
can't
have
go,
feelings too, Jam.
No, I'm sorry. You cannot bitch and whine about your right to free speech and say that I'm allowed to hate on people because of their religion or their race and turn around and say, they said a bad thing about me. It's crap.
Oh no, I'm agreeing.
sorry.
It's just funny.
Jam.
So angry.
You, do you know what the perfect remedy, the perfect therapy for your current condition is? Play Wolfenstein and kill a lot of fucking Nazis.
Yes.
Kill some Nazis.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sales pitch, yo.
Yep.
That's like not the message I wanted to take away here, Luke.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I was reading these stories, I have to put myself in the mind of like games as a business. And we're going to talk about that a lot later. But games as a business. And when all of this crap is going down in the States about pro-Nazis and then obviously, you know, a lot of people going, well, wait a minute, this isn't a decision. We're not being, you know, this isn't social commentary. The Nazis were people who did atrocious things and created and committed genocide to a large degree. And everything else. And I wonder if Bethesda see that as an opportunity or they're concerned that if it gets too much, they can't release the game.
Oh, hell no. I don't think they would ever.
No.
Well,
Not-
they
not
made it very
Wolfenstein.
clear by tweeting out, let's make America Nazi free again. I think they made a quite broad statement by releasing
But
that.
the thing is, that's the theme of their game. Before any of the current social bullshit that's going on right now happened, they were
But they
designing
could have chosen
Wolfenstein 2 set
any
in
other
America.
slogan,
No, because
what
they
I'm
set
saying.
it in America. It's been in other countries in the past.
No,
They've
I'm talking
chosen-
about them taking on Trump's specific election slogan, as in "Make America Great Again," and turning it into something related to their game. So I agree with you. Like it's the theme of their game, but they're making commentary by including it as.
So they should.
his. Yeah, no, I
Because it's
wholeheartedly
bullshit.
agree. They've made a decision. They have made a
Yeah.
decision, and they are very clearly sticking to that. And it is just super fun times in the universe. And yeah, Wolfenstein. I mean, we'll get to play that at PAX. When does that come out? When does Wolfenstein
It's
2 come
out on 24th of October, I believe.
So we'll already be over there.
Yeah, I'll be playing it the second I get back. That's for sure. I'm actually really curious after a couple of things that have been doing the rounds today, whether they're going to be able to get Eminem to do a track on the soundtrack for the game. That would be awesome. Yeah.
No,
I don't
you
get
rightly
outraged very
should be.
easily.
I mean, you heard it here first,
refreshing.
audience. Jam got angry about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah.
honestly, that was very impassioned. Well done. Round of applause, even though I can't clap because that will be annoying for Luke to edit. But good job.
Do it anyway, quick.
It is one of those weird cases, though, where, they would be absolutely mad not to take the opportunity while all this hubbub is going on in, the mass media to not take advantage of it for marketing purposes. If I was Bethesda, of course you'd do that. But with this kind of stuff going on in the world around you, it's always a double-edged sword as to whether this sort of stuff is a positive
Correct.
or a negative thing. I mean, you take the other example.
Shouldn't be.
Well, yeah, I know. But you take the other example recently,
been.
and this isn't video games related, but it's the same sort of thing in principle, is when we had the recent, mass shootings in Vegas, which, was absolutely horrific and terrible. And then, of course, as a result of that, they had to pull the new Punisher sort of panel from the lineup at Comic-Con because it was a little too close to home. So they obviously got caught by the other end.
Yeah, but that's because you
of it.
offend victims of crime. That's because
Correct.
you might upset people who have suffered at the hands of someone who's done the wrong thing. This is offending Nazis. Who gives a fuck? It's completely different.
I don't agree. I don't disagree that it's different, but what I'm saying is it's a similar sort of situation where a company is marketing a product and due to something that happens in the world that is outside of their control, it's an additional consideration to take on board when it comes to marketing. Sometimes it's for the good, in the case of the Wolfenstein sort of PR, because obviously that's played into their hands quite well. Sometimes it works against them, such as what's happened with Punisher. So, yeah, it's just one of those random elements that you can't always control, which is tricky when you're marketing.
Yeah, I think, it entirely,
Yeah. Good job. We all agree. Everybody agrees.
Yes.
Nazis are bad.
I'm nodding.
Yeah. Good job. Good. That's going to come across great on the podcast, Ollie.
Yep.
It's
Really,
very audible.
really get it.
I
Just
heard it.
the wind brushing past your head. Yeah. I can
I
hear
can
it.
scratch my mic with my stubble if that helps.
No.
That really doesn't help. That's not a fun thing. Anyway, on to the main topic, which, I don't know, now that Jam's all riled up, I'm really interested to
she's
see
gonna be
where
vicious.
this is going to go. I know, she's going to be absolutely brutal.
No, this affects me far, far less.
Yeah, I agree with Jam. I have a very hard line on this. What we're going to talk about this week is something that a lot of people are talking about. So it seems we sort of decided we wanted to do this topic, and it seems like every news outlet in the world is starting to talk about this, especially if they cover video games. We are going to talk about loot boxes and in-game purchases. Now, this topic has lots of different elements to it, and so we'll try, I guess, to lock it down to some more recent examples, because I know we've talked about you pay to win and those types of things in some games before, but what we're seeing now is a really concerted effort by a lot of games companies to use it to as part of their income, and also a lot of games companies at the same time focusing on longevity of their games releases and things like loot boxes and skins and DLC and that type of stuff, rather than releasing lots of games. Now, you guys, I don't know if we all agree on loot boxes and whether we do things. What do we think are what are the games that we would buy loot boxes in? I mean, okay, let's start with Luke and Hearthstone. I mean, it's not a loot box, but it's definitely an in-game purchase.
It is.
But you still stand by the fact that you don't need to do that to play the game.
It depends on what level you want to play the game at, really. It's
caveat.
Yeah.
Right up.
Well, it is an important one because there's
Little
lots
asterisks.
of just like many games, there are lots of different ways to play Hearthstone. So if you want to play
True.
it casually, then absolutely there's no reason to spend any money on it whatsoever. Like if you just want to do fun mode stuff, play the weekly brawl, do some of the PvE content, you don't need any of that stuff at all. If you want to play competitively, then there's definitely a rising need for it, depending on how competitive you want to be. So there is a caveat there. But I think that Hearthstone's a special case, like a lot of the other digital card games, that it's based off a physical medium that is blind purchases with regards to the content is the norm, and it actually tries to recreate that in a digital sense to capture the feel of that market. So
Yeah. It's playing on all of all of the Magic the Gathering players who no longer can commit to keeping up their collections and attending Friday Night Magic. And so now they can play it on their iPads because they're all starting to have kids and lives and all those types of things and everything else. I think one of the biggest things that, and we did kind of touch on this when it sort of came out, is the Mordor Shadow of War and the fact that the loot boxes, or whatever they're called, the caches, war caches, or whatever they were, will actually give you items in game that will help you. So there is two distinct things here. There is an item of in-game purchases and loot boxes and that type of thing, which is you can pay, but the things that you get are cosmetic or fun and emotes and those types of things. So things that don't actually impact your ability to play the game or how well you can play the game. And then there's this other disgusting, horrible, mired world of what I call pay to win. A lot of people call pay to win, in that what you would get from those will be buffs or things that allow you to get through the game quicker, or better guns and those types of things. So
I don't think it's just what you call pay to win though. Like, by definition alone, if it's anything that affects gameplay, then it is literally pay to win. It's not subjective at all. So
it's one of those things though, because in Mordor Shadow of War, if you're playing by yourself, is it pay to win, or are you just paying to make it easier?
It's still pay to win. It's just pay to win in a solo sense. You're still paying to win competing against yourself. So
I guess that was the only thing I was saying, is that there's some instances where you would pay just to make it more fun for you to play by yourself. And in the past, I know pay to win has been a big thing, especially in big multiplayer games and online games like Call of Duty. And those types of things. Although Call of Duty didn't have pay to win. They didn't have gun mods. What was the online shoots that you could get, like, better guns if you paid money?
Star Wars Battlefront, if you pre-ordered.
Oh, yeah. Nice segue.
And Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah. So this is what you guys were talking about before. So was this just today that everyone found out that that's what was happening, or has this been known for a little while?
For me personally, I didn't know about it because, again, I only played the beta for like an hour and a half-ish, so I didn't really pay much attention to the loot box system. But now that I've heard of it, I'm sad panda.
Aw.
Like, really sad panda. And so to give you an example, there's not only is there random actual in-game mechanics that you can unlock, like little cards that unlock certain things. So I should say there is cosmetics. So there's cosmetics in there that don't alter the gameplay at all. Brilliant. Great. That's fine. There are things, though, that substantially alter the game. So the one example they used is Boba Fett has a thing called Death from Above, or Death Rains from Above, when he uses his jetpack and shoots down at people, and he gets damage reduction off that. Now, there's tiers for this. So if you, say, get the bronze one, it's a 50% damage reduction. If you get the gold or the next level above that, you have a 100% damage reduction. So there is a distinct difference in people that have that item and people that have the higher tiers of that item.
Yeah.
And if that isn't definition of pay to win, I don't know what the fuck is.
Yeah.
Can you only get that by buying it?
I believe so. I think the loot boxes are similar to Overwatch's in that you unlock them over time with XP and stuff like that, but then you can elect to pay money to get more.
God, that just
do you pay for the
so
loot
counterproductive.
boxes, or do you pay?
Yeah, you pay for the loot boxes.
Items?
Nope, you cannot purchase individual items unless they're like pre-order things, I think.
Yeah. So it's random skills, and then on top of that, random skill levels. And if I'm correct, there's 4 tiers of skill level, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's 4 tiers.
Yeah. So
Interesting. Because all of the items from the Mordor Shadow of War were just to get things quicker. Like there was all going to be things that you would get in the game eventually. It was just they were like boosts.
Well,
to things.
So it accelerated your rate of getting them.
Yeah,
so instead of waiting till level 10, you get it at say level 5, for instance, just as a hypothetical. Okay.
The trick with Mordor Shadow of War, though, is that it is a mostly single player game, but there is a large part of it which is kind of like a multiplayer system of like fortress and base sort of attacking and combat. From what it's been described to me, it sounds very similar to what they did with Metal Gear Solid 5, actually, where you actually sort of take on other players' bases and try and capture points on them and that sort of thing to get bonuses. But like the general feedback, and there's still a lot not known about the Mordor Shadow of War stuff because it hasn't sort of gone through the proper review cycle yet. There's a few outlets that have gotten their hands on codes, but it hasn't been as widespread yet as you'd expect. There's a bit of conjecture around how much impact it has on the early game, and I think you're going to get the tricky part here where if it's a case of... There's, I believe, 4 major acts in Shadow of War, and acts 1 to 3, it doesn't seem to be much of an issue. Like, you can go through that part of the game without the loot boxes sort of, make a huge difference. There has been some feedback that with Act 4, though, it can be a fairly relentless grind unless you actually do get some of that stuff. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of the places out there that are writing reviews for this game, not every reviewer will play through the entire game. Like, a lot of them will sort of play through a chunk of it and write their review without actually getting to some of that end-game content. So if it's something that is controversial that affects that last part of the game, there might be a lot of the outlets that write this stuff that actually miss that. And it seems like a pretty important component. So... yeah, it, I don't know, it doesn't sound good. It really, as I mentioned before, it turns me off the game so much that, and I suspect that you feel the same, Imogen, from what we've talked about, that I would have considered buying this game before, and I almost outright won't now because of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was definitely interested because the game looked really good and it looked like really interesting, as well as most of the cast of Critical Role voicing characters in it. So I was super keen.
Minor detail.
Yeah, exactly. But then, and I, the pay to win kind of side of it was more for like the end game, and I thought, I'll just play the solo player game, blah blah blah. But all of the reviews that I was reading and people that had played the first game were talking about how this was a great improvement and how that was going to be such a big part of this game. And so once I found out that it was actually going to be a big part of the game, I kind of started to feel like I didn't want to own a game where people didn't... It was basically, in my brain, it went from being a cool game that also has some multiplayer elements to like Grand Theft Auto 5, where there's like an online version and then there's the storyline.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have played through the storyline because you could just pay to skip all that part.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really puts a bit of a bad taste in my mouth for those types of things. It's not... Yeah, it's not for me. But, it's got Critical Role in it, so I might still play it because that'd be fun to try and pick out who everybody is.
Yeah. I think if we're looking down on this whole sort of issue from like a top-down perspective, the general thing that I sort of think that has made it different now than it was before, because, I mean, microtransactions in games and loot boxes and all this kind of crap's been around forever. Like, it's the sort of thing that has existed in the mobile market since basically mobile games existed. And I think it's just this year has been the big year where it's really started to creep into the mainstream games, like a lot of AAA titles starting to do it now. It's not the first time, but like we're reaching a point at the moment where there's like a critical mass of public backlash. And I actually honestly think that one of the contributing factors to that this year is the fact that we have been flush with so many good games in 2017. Like, the competition for our focus and our time resource is higher than ever before. So people now can afford to look at games that maybe they would have taken this from and not batted an eyelid in the past, like, your Star Wars Battlefronts and things like that. And now, because there's so much competition, they can look at that and go, okay, now I am not going to play this game because there are better alternatives that don't do this shit to me. So... there are certain implementations of these in-game purchase systems that are getting fucking obnoxious. So, yeah.
The thing is, they're getting obnoxious, and I hate them, and I think they're gross, but they are making them so much money.
Yeah, and that's why they keep doing it.
People are paying.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to stop doing it if we don't pay. I mean, I know that mostly, other than Luke and his Hearthstone obsession, we don't really pay for loot boxes at all, even the cosmetic sites. I mean, Olly.
I'm sorry.
You have fallen.
The only games that I've paid for in-game purchases of, I can remember for the last few years, is Hearthstone, obviously, which I've spent an inordinate amount of money on, but that's, I have no regrets there. The only other one that I've spent money on is actually Heroes of the Storm. And I didn't ever spend money on loot boxes. I spent money on specific items that I wanted to play with in game. Like if there was a set skin that I wanted to buy for a character or a particular character, because I knew exactly what I was getting and I was able to sort of pick and choose. It wasn't blind purchase in that case. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But Olly, you've fallen.
I have. I think I've bought... What was it? I think I've bought maybe 40 loot boxes for Overwatch.
Well, Jam, you bought loot boxes as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, all of
mine
you.
Mine was over 2 events. Mine was for the first Halloween one, and then what was the other one that I bought it for?
Winter?
I think it was maybe
That's
10 for Summer Games, like the second one, which had the good skins. And then the Chinese New Year one as well, I think, was 10 for each of those, I think I bought. So not excessive, but I definitely have purchased loot boxes.
So, Ollie, was your desire for purchasing those loot boxes just out of curiosity driven by the exclusive nature of that content, the fact that it was time sensitive and that it wasn't going to be available after the fact?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
I have not bought any of the regular loot boxes. Because I don't because I know that content is always there. And to be fair, you could also argue that, but you know that the holiday ones will cycle around. Yes, but I want it now.
Has anyone ever paid for pay to win type loot boxes?
I don't play games that have. Oh, I did for Battlefront. So no, I haven't.
So for me, I've purchased Overwatch loot boxes during events. And that was a balance of me wanting some of the exclusive items and me quantifying how much time I'd gotten out of my original purchase and going, yeah, I'm happy to give them this money, for the chance at these neat looking things. I've spent $100 Australian on GTA 5 to make in-game purchases. And again,
was that like shark cards or whatever?
The shitloads of hours I have put into that game and the enjoyment I have got out of it. I was comfortable doing that once off. Since that's happened, it's become harder and harder to acquire or to afford other in-game purchases. And the things that I spent it on,
Did you buy
it's
the
the
yacht?
yacht. So it wasn't really pay to win so much as I wanted this cool
I was
thing
wondering
in-game.
how you afforded that so easily. Okay.
Yeah,
we've
I
discussed
remember.
this.
It was so exciting when you got that yacht. But, I mean, would we all agree that that's not really pay to win in GTA,
No.
even though it does give you, like, guns and a helicopter and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I feel like it's still a level playing
No
field. I
way.
feel like you can
My
steal
level
whatever's on the
crawl-
map, pretty much.
My
so.
level crawl got me the gear that I needed to be good in that game. I had already hit level 150 or whatever it was. I had the guns. I didn't have all of the cars in game. They keep releasing new cars, but when it comes down to I guess winning, quite often that stuff that you purchased really doesn't factor in because when you go to race, everyone selects
Customs could
non-custom.
be off.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've spent money on recently is I actually spent I put $5 in my Steam wallet the other day to buy a handful of outfit items for PUBG.
Oh, yeah.
And that was because I got down to the final two in this game and I was wearing the stupidest, colourful goddamn shit. And I was like, right,
Where's Waldo's
I need
shirt?
to be a ninja. So I just bought black beanie, black pants, black shirt. I went through and I bought
Stealth,
stuff
Jamie.
that would help me blend.
Yeah. I was
and
about
again,
to...
it's worth it because I've spent so
Yeah.
many hours in that game and it's purely cosmetic. It might give me a slight advantage in game, but not really because it is just an outfit.
Yeah.
So I had a realization, and I have to climb down off my high horse of not purchasing loot boxes. Because I definitely have. Definitely have.
Armello?
Because I played World of Warcraft.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
So I have paid for pets. I have paid, oh my gosh, the things that I have paid for. Not pay to win. They're all cosmetic, like cool things, like shade, what were they called? And you could apply them to your armor and it made them look
Dyes?
like other things.
Oh, the shaders?
Oh, no, it wasn't a dye. No, it was
Transmogs?
like a socketed. Yeah, transmogs. Thank you, Luke. But that was all buying gold and stuff. But also, Mellow. I probably only spent about $20 Australian, I'd say, on Armello because the marketplace has their dice and the chests pretty cheap, and that's mostly because I just really like having all of the dice skins. So then, again, just purely cosmetic, but I spend maybe $1.80 at a time, and usually towards the end of a big release. I had every single dice for the last release other than the Druid's Promise, and I never got it. And I'm super bummed. I saw it that one time. I saw one person play with it. I think that I probably got the Ivy dice and the Flint dice from that collection about 40 times. Easy.
Wow.
Easy from chests. They just transmogged them all to other things to try and push it up and get other things in. I just never did. But That's all right. They'll all be going on the marketplace to be sold to by other dice. So smush them all together like Destiny to turn them into other dice. So yeah, I certainly can't stand on my high horse because I had entirely forgotten about, I would have spent hundreds of dollars on WoW. Hundreds.
I think if you look at all the games that we play, like there are a lot of games that we play as a group that have in-game purchases or loot boxes of some sort. I think there's, to list a few off the top of my head, you've got basically anything that Blizzard does. I think probably the only Blizzard game that doesn't have in-app or in-game purchases is probably Diablo. I can't think of any for Diablo. Apart from
Auction House.
Yeah, but the Auction House got changed. Like, it was real money when it launched, but that got completely changed. So,
don't you have like pets and stuff still in Diablo or skins for stuff?
Maybe there is
like
external stuff. Like you can get Diablo bits and pieces for, say, like the BlizzCon virtual ticket and stuff like that. So. I'd have to check. Overwatch, obviously, HOTS. Olly, you still played a bit of CSGO, and that's obviously got a lot of in-game sort of loot box type purchases, and that's been involved in
has all of them.
Yeah, that's been involved in a fair bit of controversy this year too, with the gambling controversy earlier in the year and that kind of thing. GTA Online, we've mentioned already. PUBG, Armello, Destiny, good example. Even things like fucking Mass Effect Andromeda, like that had multiplayer paid content. Like, I never spent any money on it, and I suspect that Jam and Ollie, you didn't either, but it existed in that game. So, yeah, there's a lot of games that have it.
I think, I think it's like a strategic decision, and I think what you were saying before, what Jam was saying was 100% right. I wanted to sort of say that I've spent so much time in the games that I've spent the money in that I feel like it's worth it. Like, and I am more than happy to give Blizzard all of my money, as we've discussed on many occasions, and especially when I used to play WoW. But I think the difference is you used to be able to like buy a console and you'd maybe own a couple of games. Now people have the ability and potentially the income. More people have the gaming systems. They're out for years at a time now. There's not like a release a year kind of thing. So they really need to find a game that people want to settle into. They don't want a game that once you've played the storyline, you're done. I think a good example is like Horizon Zero Dawn, an amazing game. But as soon as I finished the story and other things came out, there was no real driver to play it again until the DLC comes out. And so now I'm like, I kept thinking, maybe I'll go back. I enjoy the world. Like, I'll go back and just poodle around. But it was really for no effect other than really PlayStation trophies, which I'm not really driven by, or achievements. But she says, trying to get all of the Armelio achievements. But anyway, in Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm not driven by that. But as soon as the DLC comes out, like, I'll pay for that and I'll do that. So it feels like games are using that to keep their games relevant for longer.
It also depends on whether it's a free-to-play model or a full-price product. Because, if you're looking at Horizon, the companies are making their money off the purchase price of the game. It's not something they have to rely on in-game purchases to do. Whereas a game like Hearthstone is entirely built on that model, like, because it is free to play.
Because it's free.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say more like the World of Tanks, World of Warships, that sort of style of game as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the free to play stuff.
Overwatch is an interesting example because it is a game that has an upfront purchase price, and it's undoubtedly a AAA sort of game, but it does have that additional layer of sort of focus as because the esports stuff is linked to it, obviously. They want it to sort of continue to grow and evolve and be live as a game, and because it's a multiplayer game that doesn't have single player content, it needs to stay relevant and it needs to stay active, and I think having that in-game purchase economy is part of that sort of infrastructure. So
and I appreciate it. That's why I'm happy to support them in that way on occasion. They've got a game where all of the content you can make, you can access from the initial purchase price.
Yes.
You just can. All of the updates that happen, the seasonal events, you can play them. All of the items that they create, they're available in the loot boxes. It's just random number generator.
Yeah.
So when you put money in, it's purely cosmetic, and it's for stuff you have a good chance of getting anyway. You're not getting an advantage per se over anyone else.
No.
And it's not truly excluding people who can't afford to do that. But it supports the game to continue development. It's, if you're reasonable about it and you do it within your means, it's your choice and it's fine.
Yeah,
I have zero problem with that.
it allows you to be like customize yourself in the game as well. And for a game where it's not really
unique.
character driven, you can still be a bit unique.
Yeah.
Especially now we're getting to so many skins. You will very rarely see like a vanilla skinned character in the game. Or OG. I prefer OG over vanilla. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Jam, you just sort of jogged my brainwave a little bit, harking back to the GTA stuff.
Yeah.
So you know how all the new content is, let's be honest, it's scaling up as far as in-game currency is concerned.
Oh shit, yes it is.
But so when you go, you can purchase shark cards. If you purchase shark cards to afford that, you're essentially just paying for the DLC. So they're going, here's free DLC, but if you want to get it now, you can pay for it. And I actually don't mind that model as such, because you can go, I've put in 120 hours in this game, if not more. There's this DLC coming out. I want to play it. How much money will that cost me in shark cards? $30. $30 for some DLC. It's up to you if that's worth it or not. But the fact that that option is there.
Yeah. It's the other reason I spent $100 to get a friggin' in-game yacht with a bit of change left over. I was getting... I mean, Rockstar haven't released a new game in forever and won't till Red Dead Redemption 2 is out, because it's working for them and it's creating a wonderful game and continuing a wonderful game, but it's only more recently, I think, that it's been getting a bit excessive.
It's a bit much.
It's creating too much of a gap between the haves and the have-not.
One of the good things about it, though, is that just about all of the DLC sort of expansions for GTA have involved an expansion of the economy as well, like in giving you new ways to earn that currency. So different jobs and stuff.
That's
so
very
it's a bit of a self-sustaining thing. So if you've actually taken part in like the last big expansion with like the the executive type missions, for example, and then the bike club expansion comes out, like a lot of the stuff that you would have done in the previous one should partly bankroll the next one that comes out if you continue playing. So
in theory, I feel like the balance has been broken.
I agree.
Though.
Yeah.
That's personally.
There is a side reason why I will never buy a shark card in GTA though. Like that aside, I will not spend real money on that game. And the reason for that is because I do not trust the economy and the value of that money when it comes to the hacker problem that still exists in that game. Like it really rubs me the long way to think about putting real money into that game where other people are running around with, ill-gotten funds and basically pirating the content from within the game. That just shits me. So
I had that encounter with someone after I'd purchased the shark card for the stupid yacht, which I love.
Yeah.
Going, why? You could have just found a hacked server and gotten all that cash for free. I just got 40 million. Suck it. That's 4 times what you paid real world money for.
I remember that interaction.
Yes. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, this is me voluntarily supporting Rockstar, who've given me hundreds of hours of enjoyment in this game.
Not that they really need that extra money, but yeah, go.
No, they don't.
They send Jam a Christmas card every year.
It was a personal choice. It was a personal choice. I wanted to buy this thing. I didn't want to grind forever for it. So I spent my money. And again, it's because it wasn't pay to win, zero problems with it. The problem is these sorts of things, there's different elements to it. You're either buying something cosmetic for a fixed dollar price, you're buying the chance of getting something cosmetic, you're buying the chance at cosmetic / play to win items with a random number generator thrown in, which I think that really rubs me wrong because it feels too much like gambling. Or you're paying a fixed dollar price for an item to pay to win or to unlock progress or something. And it's that end of the spectrum that I just have an issue with. If it's free to play, I understand that is your model. It makes sense. If you've released a full-priced game and then you're doing that, so people can't really enjoy the full game without doing that, if there's no genuine opportunity for them to achieve those things in a reasonable level of progress, then it just feels like money grabbing.
Yeah, agreed.
That's because it is.
That's where you draw the line, Jam. What about you, Luke? Where do you draw the line?
Oh, I've got so many lines when it comes to this sort of stuff. It is not an easy issue.
He's Mr.
It's like
Scribble.
a decision tree. It's like a little diagram.
I mean, some of the things that I think about when it comes to this stuff, like the whole blind purchase versus specific item selection is obviously a factor. For me, duplication's a big issue as well. Like if I'm going to spend money on like a blind purchase, I want to know how the game handles duplication of content. And that's one of the things in which recently Hearthstone has changed and really gotten a lot better now, I think. So like with the legendary cards in particular, now the game's sort of got a built-in algorithm so that you can't get duplicate legendaries anymore until you've gotten all of them, which I think is one of the best changes that game's had in a long time. And I wish that they would do that in Overwatch a bit more strongly. Overwatch has had a bit of an update along those lines, but they haven't been clear about how vigilant it is. And I believe that duplication still can occur, just not as much. They've reduced the chance of it happening. But the Overwatch sort of loot box system is so, like, it's really obscure how that thing works, and that kind of annoys me a great deal. I'm not a huge fan of the Overwatch system for that fact. It's better than a lot of the ones out there, but I don't think it's as good as some of the other Blizzard ones. The other stuff is one thing that really is a no-no for me, and this has happened far too much with games in recent history, is when games have been built around essential content being locked behind paywalls. So I get games having stuff added to them after release, and I think GTA Online's a really good example of that, where they've continued to work on that game and add content and iterate on it, and all that sort of stuff is fine because I think that it's, you know, it's add-ons. It's not what the original game promised. It's definitely value-add stuff. But there are games out there that have stuff from day dot locked behind paywalls, and I'm just like, what the fuck? You know, that is so
like
not
Zelda.
Cool. Zelda's...
They had their difficulty mode. The hardest difficulty mode is purchase only.
For Breath of the Wild, are you talking about? That was that was an interesting one. I think that Zelda, there's an argument to be made on both sides because the first update for that had a bunch of different things in it, and some of it I would absolutely agree should have been available from the get-go like that. But some of it is actually content added to the game that, you know, they obviously
the DLC content is different and separate, but there were things that they put behind paywalls.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a better example as far as Nintendo goes then. And this is obviously one close to my heart, which is the Metroid Samus Returns on 3DS. So it's not an in-game purchase, but in essence, what they did with the amiibo for that game is the same thing in principle. So they locked part of the content behind a paywall. It just wasn't a paywall in-game. It was a paywall, you know, existing in a physical product that was outside the game. Yeah. And the even worse part about that was the limited availability of those products because they, you know, sold out quite quickly all over the place. So that stuff should have been unlocked from the get-go. Actually, I read today, and this is interesting, sort of coming up into the end of October when Super Mario Odyssey gets released, apparently they've changed the way that amiibos work in that game, almost the opposite of what I've been complaining about with the Metroid issue, where all of the amiibos for that game, the unlocks that they give you, apparently there's going to be ways to get those unlocks if you don't own the amiibos as well. So I think
that's good news.
That's the right way to do it. Yeah, I think that's really good.
If I enjoyed the game, I'll buy the shit out of those amiibos. But yeah, I was a bit worried about that.
Yeah.
For Mario, that was one of my big questions.
Yeah.
All right, so Jam, very hard line. Luke, wibbly wobbly, kind of blurred line.
Depends on the game.
Olly, depends on the game. Luke is fence sitting. I'm just picturing that.
I'm only fence sitting because these economies are different in every game. Like it doesn't depend on the game because of the game. It depends on the game because of the way that they've iterated the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's elements of how much you enjoy the game, so whether or not it's tolerable to you. So that's fine.
If it's a shit system for the in-game purchases, even if I love the game, I still won't make those purchases. It's as simple as that. So, yeah.
Exactly. All right, Olly, go for you.
All right, so where I sit on it, if it's a purely cosmetic thing, and it's a loot box system, so a la Overwatch, then I'm okay with it because it doesn't directly impact other people playing the game. And if you want to spend $50 on the random chance of getting a cosmetic, then more power to you. And we know this system works from real life collectible card games. That's their whole model. And they've basically gone, that model works there. We can just do that on the computer and get us a secondary cash inflow. Fair enough. As far as business, I reckon good on them. Like, that works really well. I have no issue with cosmetics that do not affect the game. I am 100% fine with that. And the only reason I've bought Overwatch loot crates, and for example, I haven't bought PUBG loot crates or Mellow chests, is because I can buy the items I want on the marketplace. And I am much more amicable to go, I'll spend 50 cents on this skin rather than here's $20 on the chance of me getting that. The only reason I've done that is because I've enjoyed Overwatch enough where I can go, I've spent X amount of hours, my dollar to hour entertainment ratio is much more favorable.
Yeah.
I will mirror what Luke has said. I absolutely hate paywalls for content. I will never support a game which has paywalls for content. I hate it. Or I just won't. If it's the best game ever, I just won't engage in that paywall. I loathe pay to win. And this includes pre-order items.
Oh, yeah.
That aren't scaled to like
Agreed.
The level of play. So Destiny, I think, did it quite well because you had to get to level 20 to unlock the pre-order items.
Yeah.
I like that system.
And those items are still available in-game anyway, so...
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was more just, cool, you have a guarantee of getting them.
Yeah.
Well done, you got to level 20. There you go. Whereas, say, Star Wars Battlefront, you pre-ordered, you got the best gun in the game. Straight up.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
That's on the nose.
The other one that I don't like is the ability ones with the pay-to-win. So, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Fucking... here's this ability. Here's tiers of it. There's a random chance. Start spending money. Hate that. Loathe that to bits. And in all honesty, it will probably stop me from buying Battlefront 2. Yeah. Because...
Which is a real shame.
It is. Like, I would want to buy that game for the single and multiplayer experience. Because the multiplayer experience is fantastic. If it becomes unbalanced because of that, and it 100% will, it's not going to be enjoyable. It's as simple as that. You'll have people going, I have everything, this is brilliant. And you'll have people going, I just bought the game, I'm getting murdered, this is a shit game. Yeah. So that's not a good community to foster. Like, I don't think that's a healthy thing as a community. And then for single player games, if you can monetize what is essentially used to be a menu option called easy mode, then fuck me, you've done a good job as a business. Like, essentially what you describe as Shadow of War is the easy mode button now costs you money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the game's still, it's not any easier, but they do give you, like, XP boosts and stuff. So.
Which would make the game easier, I presume.
Yeah,
because it will unlock abilities and stuff.
I don't know enough about it to confirm or deny.
Yeah, but there will be games that have a similar thing.
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
That for me is just like, from a business point of view, fucking hats off right there.
Yeah,
yeah. You've taken a menu option and made it monetized it. Like,
good
holy
job.
shit.
Yeah, that person gets a raise for sure.
Yeah, fucking hell. But as a model overall to increase longevity of games, it's very dependent on the game for me. So a game like GTA, I will go, yep, fair enough, you're releasing amazing DLC, and that's one of the ways to support you with shark cards, potentially. Yes, hackers will go, your fund's wrong, and you can reply with, I'm not doing anything illegal. So there's always that argument. Games like Shadow of War and Star Wars Battlefront, I don't like that model. I'm very hesitant for that model. Other games where it's like, you can have this cool skin in this single-player game. Sweet, go nuts. Or you can have this little XP boost in the game. If it's single-player and it doesn't affect any other player besides yourself, go nuts.
Yeah.
It's like people that use cheats or mods in games to get an advantage. If you're doing that in a single-player game and that's making it fun and enjoyable for you, that's fine. If you're doing it on an online server and you're fucking over other people, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Because you're ruining their fun. And so monetizing that aspect by going, I've flung money at this game, I now get an advantage over you, I dislike that.
Yeah. I know we're running long, but I want to add one more thing, and I think you will agree with this as well. Items that you pay for that are consumable. So that's cropped up more and more often recently.
Yeah. Don't like that either.
Yeah, not a fan.
One-off payable items, do not like.
Yeah.
Well, audience, you need not worry because my monologue will be nowhere as near as long as Olly's.
Sorry. It's because I didn't speak much through the rest of the segment.
That's fine. It's all valuable content.
And the
We all
extra
appreciate
monologue
it.
from Olly will be unlocked if you want to pay $5 at the end of this episode. You can...
Well, behind the scenes,
No one is
party
paying for
after
that.
loaded.
Part of like after the show, just listen to us shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, my opinion is really simple. I'm happy to pay for cosmetic items of my own if I'm ever in a game that I'm playing with other people who have paid money to be better at the game than I have. I am not interested in playing that game. Full stop. Don't care. And that's why it was so disappointing to hear for Shadow of War. So I'll wait and see that's released probably and see how that goes and see how people are talking about it, because it really is a small part of it, but we'll wait and see how much that impacts the game. That's really simple.
And Olly kept emphasizing the core of the issue too. It's about business. It's economic theory. It's supply and demand. If you've got entitled people with money demanding instant gratification and they're willing to throw that money at shit, that shit will be provided.
Oh, yeah.
You can't then whinge about it.
No.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
If people keep paying for this, it's going to keep happening.
And it will. People will keep paying
You talk
for
with your wallets.
Yeah.
You talk with your wallets, whether it's pre-orders, in-game purchases. It speaks louder than words.
Yeah, even buying the base game when the game has that as an element is voting in favor of it. Because if they're making money, they're going to do it. And they're going to keep doing it for a long time until they stop making money from
Nothing's going to change. People love that dopamine hit when they push that purchase button and get their item and, open the box and get their stuff. I think that if this year is a breaking point for whether it's going to be a thing sort of moving forward or not, I think it'll definitely be a thing because people aren't going to stop spending money.
Oh, it's a thing. It's already a thing. Yeah, we're already seeing like big houses come out, developing houses and the like, and publishers come out and say that they're focusing on big titles and they're not focusing on lots of volume, which means that the titles that they do have still have to make them some sort of money because they can't count on selling lots of copies after release necessarily because not everyone can be PUBG. All right, that is it for another show. We got here in the end. If you want to talk to us about the millions of dollars that you have spent in other games, please do. Please make me feel better about realizing that I've spent a lot of money in World of Warcraft.
To us, actually.
No, don't pay to win Party Loaded. You can email us. No, don't. Don't do it. Don't listen to Olly. God damn it. Don't listen to the man. You can.
That guy.
Yeah. If you want to tell us about your shameful spending on video games, please do so at mail@partyloaded.com. You can catch us on Facebook at Party Loaded, Twitter at Party Loaded Show, and YouTube, we are youtube.com/channelendgame. Right. Next week, I am going to play video games, guys. Which video game should I play?
Destiny.
Ori in the Blind Forest.
Make it something good because we got a big show next week to look forward to. It's going to be a thing.
Finish Ori in time for 100. There you go.
Yep.
Holy crap. No, I don't have. I really don't have time for that. Holy shit.
Yeah, make time.
Okay. Oh, man. All right.
I reckon you smashed through the hardest bit.
Oh, shit. All right.
No pressure.
I will try. I will make a concerted effort and report back in episode 100, but that means no Destiny. Sorry, Jam.
No!
Yeah, and we're playing D&D this Friday. That's lots of hours I could be playing video games that I'm wasting with you motherfuckers. So.
All right, tear up my notes for the session.
Truth comes out.
Imogen characters.
Kill the Mimo.
Yeah.
Done.
Oh, come on. All right. We also are super pumped, and today is officially 2 weeks until we are doing a quiz night over in Melbourne before PAX, and I cannot wait. Oh my god, I am so excited. All I have to do now is survive live for the next 2 weeks. All right, what are you guys going to be playing next week?
Ooh, you go first, Jam. What are you doing? Raid for Destiny, obviously. We'll both be back on that.
Yeah, Destiny, a little PUBG, probably some Minecraft because, damn. I hit
got
that
the
hard
bug again. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully some Horizon.
Yeah. Ollie, what are you going to do while these guys play Destiny?
Finish fucking Cuphead.
Yep.
And rub it in Luke's face.
Sounds dirty.
I finished it.
Sounds really bad.
Gold medal for whoever gets that one first. That will be
Ollie will get it
difficult.
first without a doubt because I've got too many other things competing for my time. But I too.
I don't have Destiny to compete with.
Look at
Well,
those
true.
Pick it up tonight.
excuses. So many excuses. Yeah, watch
I mean,
Jam
you might as well
smash
get
through
them
it.
out officially. So
Yeah.
I too am going to
exactly.
try and finish Cuphead this week. That is something I would like to do. Yeah, there's a few things that I'd like to get back into, but I haven't spent nearly enough time on my mini SNES either, so I want to fire that up and play some more stuff with Ben. So that'll be fun.
You have a lot to do, sir.
Oh, guess what? By the way, my sister has a mini SNES.
Oh,
So suddenly I have access to
yay.
Awesome as well.
nice.
So that's going to
Huzzah.
happen.
hey.
Hey,
There we
Jam,
go.
you should
You
get
guys
her
have
to
lots
bring
to
it to
do.
PAX, and I'll bring mine as well, and we could actually cater for
Hells
4 people.
yeah.
So that'd be awesome. Yep.
Hells yes.
Sweet. Plan sorted. Well, we will see you next week for episode 100. I need an air horn. put that in later. Thanks, Luke. Yeah, good job. Thanks, Ollie. All right. Good night, friends.
Good night.
Bye.
Ta-ra!
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.